Imagine an association between some of the world's most powerful nations, the largest and most influential economies all in one group. Perhaps they even hold annual summits in which they discuss how they cooperate to achieve their respective goals. Now imagine that the United States of America isn't in this group. In fact, neither is Germany, Japan, nor the UK. Confused? Well, don't be. Let me introduce you to the BRICS. So, who are the BRICS? The BRICS is a political and economic organization between 5 member countries formed back in 2009. In fact, the term BRICS is actually an acronym for the participating nations of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. The organization was originally known as BRIC, since South Africa only joined in 2010, and as a result gave the organization a presence on the African continent. So why these nations and not Finland, New Zealand or Djibouti? Well, these countries are home to large emerging economies, with perhaps the exception of South Africa, and all of them have shown high rates of economic growth in recent decades, and are expected to emerge as future powers not just on a regional level, but also a global one. In fact, the term BRIC, then just Brazil, Russia, India and China, is believed to have been coined by a Goldman Sachs employee back in 2001 as a way to refer to these large emerging markets. But why do these nations get together? What's the point of this international organization? Well, let's find out. There are many different reasons that explain the desire for cooperation between the BRICS nations, and perhaps the most important though is that of influence. You see, almost all of the large international organizations worldwide have been created by Western economies, and allow Western nations to exert their influence through backing each other in economic and diplomatic confrontations. So, if you're a large emerging market that doesn't quite have the influence to sway the likes of the USA or the EU, then one solution is to team up with others, and that's how we've ended up with the BRICS. The BRICS organization, therefore, is a platform in which member nations can come together to cooperate and design their own framework, one that isn't heavily influenced by the Western powers. So perhaps you're now wondering, why should I care about some recently formed international organization that comprises some of the most populous nations on the planet? Well, let me tell you why. The BRICS nations combined are huge. In fact, if they were their own country, they would be by far the most populous state with almost 3.2 billion people in 2018. That's more than 9 times the population of the USA. And together, its economy in 2018 ranked alongside that of the USA and ahead of the EU with a staggering $20.5 trillion US. All numbers surrounding the BRICS are impressive by nature of the group representing a sizable portion of the global population, and many have predicted that the BRICS nations will overtake the largest Western nations in the upcoming decades, both economically and politically, therefore being able to shape global governance as the 21st century progresses. So you may be wondering, what have the BRICS countries achieved so far? Where can their impact be felt? Ever since its first formal summit as a group of 5 nations in April 2011, the BRICS nations have shown their will to cooperate on a variety of issues, ranging from the need for a new global reserve currency, not dominated by these people, to the establishment of a new global financial institution, similar to the IMF and the World Bank. Up until now, the BRICS have been much more successful with the second of these issues, and as of 2014, such institution became a reality. The new global financial institution in question is the BRICS Development Bank, also known as the New Development Bank or the NDB. This new bank's primary objective is to fund infrastructure projects, and with an initial starting capital of $50 billion, it is definitely not a small-scale institution. Headquartered in Shanghai, China, the new development bank had already invested by March 2019 in more than 30 projects, with loans totaling more than $8 billion. And in addition to the NDB, the BRICS have also set up the BRICS Contingent Reserve Arrangement, or CRA, which is a framework intended to protect against global liquidity pressures. The idea being that many emerging economies go through periods of instability as they experience rapid economic liberalization, and the CRA offers a stable hand to protect against such market volatility by offering liquidity and precautionary instruments. All things considered, and given the relatively short lifespan of the BRICS group, the achievements that the 5 nations have made so far are quite impressive, so much so that other nations have expressed interest in joining the group. With South Africa formally joining the group in 2010, the idea that the BRICS members are set in stone is up for debate, and many other countries have been knocking on the door, such as Turkey, with its President Erdogan suggesting that the group could change its name to BRICS and allow his country to join. But perhaps the acceptance of South Africa in 2010 is puzzling in itself, with more populous and faster emerging economies in Africa such as Nigeria, Ethiopia and Egypt perhaps being better suited to assume the responsibility of being the group's presence in Africa. That said, whichever nation is invited or accepted to join the group in the future, it will most likely be another emerging economy and regional power, therefore leaving the door open to many countries such as Indonesia, Mexico and Nigeria. However, enlarging the group could cause more harm than good, as not all nations get along. This is evident even within the 5-nation group. What binds the BRICS nations together is the desire for more independence, influence, and not having to rely on Western institutions. However, there are also many differences that divide the BRICS nations, from their political systems to their relationships with the West. That said, perhaps the most divisive force within the BRICS nations is actually the relationship between its 2 largest members, China and India. You see, China and India aren't exactly best friends. They have conflicting territorial claims in the Himalayas, and in 2020 we have even seen conflict at the border between the 2 countries, resulting in military deaths, as well as some Indians boycotting Chinese firms. In addition, the Chinese have invested heavily in Pakistan in recent years as part of its Belt and Road Initiative, a move that India is not completely happy with. And as for India, its positive relationship with the USA is a cause of concern to the Chinese, since Chinese-US relations are spicy, to say the least. So such tangling of international relationships does not exactly create the fruitful relationship that China and India need to sustainably boost the BRICS cooperation, and without its 2 largest member states, there isn't much the rest of the group can do. The BRICS may not be an economic union, but as a result of their enormous size, both demographically and economically, they have the ability to play a significant role in the global economy in the coming decades, and therefore are definitely worth keeping an eye on. Recent tensions between China and India will no doubt slow down progress between the group in the short term, and as the group progresses throughout the 21st century, I'd expect its economic clout to grow and rival that of the Western Hemisphere as a whole. But divisions between the nations and their divided relationship towards Western countries may prove difficult for the group to overcome. Hi everyone, thanks for watching. If you're new here and want to help support the channel, don't forget to subscribe and smash that like button. And if you want to see more, then just click on one of the videos on the screen. Take care. Bye.